So Macquarie Wharf redevelopment, or the Macquarie Wharf 456 redevelopment. Unfortunately, this project hasn't got a jazzy name yet. So if anyone's got a suggestion or anything that they would like to throw in the bucket, please let me know, because every time you have to write Macquarie Wharf 456 redevelopment project, it becomes very tedious. Port of Hobart. I'm assuming obviously everyone in the room knows the Port of Hobart. It's right outside the window there. For everyone who's listening on the recording, the Port of Hobart is obviously situated in the south of Tasmania. It's the port within the Tasmanian capital city. And it's a very interesting and very important port for TasPorts, whereby in the north we've got the three main ports being Bell Bay, Devonport and Burnie being very commercial ports. Security access to get in and out, very commercially operated, bulk products, very dangerous sites. The Port of Hobart blends community as well as commercial. So we've got a section of the port which is shown in this photograph here, which is the commercial side, and what we can see out the window on the other side of the port is a community port to a degree. So one of the beauties of the Port of Hobart is the port here is one of the deepest ports in the Southern Hemisphere, which lends itself really nice to some of the larger vessels that we see come into Hobart here. So Hobart, on the commercial side, we see a lot of cruise vessel visits each year. We'll often see double up and triple ups of cruise vessels. It's a very important spot for crews to come. A lot of people like to come down to Tasmania and experience Tasmania, and Hobart provides that for them. As well as cruise, we see the SET, so the Southern Export Terminal, which is the log export. So in this photograph here, you can see the log store piles there. So that is berth number 4. So here is berth 4, 5, and then 6. So the log export is very important for the Port of Hobart, and we see a lot of logs being exported through wharf number 4. As well as that is it's the home of the AAD's vessel. So it was the Australia Aurora, and now they've just got online the Naina. So the Naina is currently doing sea trials, and she'll be down south in the coming months. So as part of this project, we're looking at realigning the key line here between Mach 4 and Mach 6 to provide a continual key line. And what that will enable us to do is it will enable us to service our Antarctic friends as well as our forestry friends and the cruise industry. So with the Naina coming online, the Naina has been identified to go into Mach 6, and we'll be building a dedicated Antarctic precinct for the Naina and other Antarctic research vessels that wish to use the Port of Hobart as a home base. And we've been working quite closely with AAD at the moment to do some temporary infrastructure upgrade works to facilitate the Naina when she comes in, while we're undertaking the planning and scoping of the Macquarie Wharf project. The next thing that we're going to be targeting is the cruise industry in Hobart. So the cruise industry is very important for the Port of Hobart. And at the moment we are limited to cruise sizes due to the wharf space that we do have. So with Mach 4, 5 there, and then the step up into Mach 6, it really limits the cruise sizes that we can get in. And by re-establishing the key line, it enables us to open the doors to Oasis-class cruise vessels. So Oasis-class cruise vessels are the largest cruise vessels that we see on the seas at the moment. And Royal Caribbean are real keen on seeing Oasis-class come down to Tasmania. At the moment, there's only one port in Australia that can accommodate Oasis-class, which is Brisbane. Hobart has been identified, noting the deep water, obviously on the premise that we've got a long enough key line. And Fremantle is also a nominated port that can, subject to infrastructure upgrades, accommodate the Oasis-class cruise vessels. So by accommodating these cruise vessels, it really opens the door to allowing these tourism markets to open up, and these vessels can accommodate about 5,500 people. So it's a real opportunity to increase the Australia cruise destination hit list for the Oasis-class cruise, and it will see TasPorts being able to accommodate both cruise and the Antarctic research vessels on a single quay line in Hobart. So as we look at the project again, off the back of the 2018 port master plans, TasPorts have identified Hobart as a strategic port for us to do further developments to meet the requirements of our customers' growth and their opportunities, as well as the Burnie Export Gateway project. The Macquarie Wharf Redevelopment project has been nominated on the Infrastructure Australia list. So again, TasPorts are very excited about this opportunity and are doing a lot of work in the planning and scoping phase to ensure that we are strategically placed to be in with a chance to be nominated within that priority list. The project will see a continual quay line from Mach 4 all the way to Mach 6, and then we'll be looking at a finger pier to extend it even further to allow us to berth even more vessels and have the flexibility to move vessels around. Hobart is the gateway to Antarctic and for scientific research. So we see that already in Hobart, and due to the location of Hobart, it's a integral point there. The bulk log export is something that TasPorts is very proud of and keen to continue moving forward. So as we can see, we've obviously got the SET here, and there's always going to be made a spot for them to continue to export through Mach 4-5. And then we'll be looking at doing a dedicated cruise terminal for the Oasis class cruise. So currently we've got the Mach 2 shed here, which is a cruise terminal shed that we use to pull the passengers through for processing. With the Oasis class cruise vessels and with the sheer number of people that will be departing these vessels, we've identified that we'll probably be looking at 2 terminals or the ability to use Mach 2 as well as another terminal. So it's one of the scope options that we are looking at in this planning feasibility stage, and we'll determine whether that is a requirement or not. So looking at the project scope, so this illustration here just illustrates the continual quay line that I've been talking to. So we're proposing a 720 metre continuous quay line. So we're doing some works at the moment to understand what that length needs to be to service our customers. For scale, you can see here that is an Oasis class cruise vessel, and that is the Nina. So there's quite a bit of room, but there's not a lot of room to put anything else there, but we can service our main customers, and the SET will continue to operate as required. This will enable us to have a best-in-class berthing infrastructure, so looking at obviously all new quay line, looking at new fenders, new bollards, and fully fit for purpose to meet the vessels of today and the vessels of tomorrow. Dedicated shore power availability. So a lot of the work that we've been doing especially with AAD is in and around that shore power solution. So noting how Antarctic research works, they go down south for a season and then they're back in port for a season. And whilst they're back in port, they like to do obviously their maintenance, their checks, cleaning up the vessel and preparing for their next sailing. With that, there's a real demand on power, data, and wharf side availability as well as storage. So we'll be looking at obviously accommodating those needs with AAD, and then also having the ability to pass that service on to other customers that may require shore power solutions at Mach 4, 5, 6. Dedicated heavy lift areas. So this mainly services the Nina and other Antarctic research vessels, as well as our bulk log export vessels. And this is to nominate particular areas on the deck which we can have heavy lifts. The Nina has twin cranes on her now, and she'll be obviously looking at doing loading, unloading herself, and noting the sensitivity and the containerized units that they have for their research. We'll be looking at dedicated heavy lift areas. Cruise passenger terminal, as I alluded to before, looking at how we will disembark and manage effectively 5,500 passengers from an Oasis class cruise, but also managing 2 independent cruise vessels when they're in berth simultaneously, and how we can keep people safe and secure whilst they're transiting through our port. Antarctic research, so looking at the dedicated berths for that, as I've mentioned, and also the Oasis class cruise. So this project really gives us opportunity to redevelop the Port of Hobart and look at some of our strategic partners in line with tourism, which is very key for Hobart and the southern region, as well as the Antarctic research and enabling them to do what they do best and service their requirements. Notwithstanding the logs, and with the Port of Hobart being what it is, we see a lot of community engagement. It's great to see the community come into the port and be able to experience TasPorts firsthand. So that wraps up the Macquarie Wharf redevelopment. I'd just like to say that obviously with the presentation that Pat did earlier on, the Devonport Key Link project is obviously a lot more progressed than these two projects. I wanted to give the snapshot and the understanding of what we're doing with the next two large growth opportunity projects and major projects at TasPorts. And the intent would definitely be to do these industry day presentations dedicated to these two projects when we're in an ability to share further information. But we'll be using the expression of interest and the questionnaires that TasPorts will send out in the coming days to identify individual organisations that are keen to work on these two projects as well as the Devonport East project. With the two projects now, we're looking at the front-end engineering design phases of the projects, where we're looking to develop the engineering works, look at early works, especially with Burney Gateway with regards to geotechnical investigations in the marine environment, to understand our dredge requirements, noting that we are looking at these large volumes of materials. So there'll be quite a lot of small packages of work which we're hoping to release in the next 6 months or so, as we start to develop the project and refine our plans and come up with a more detailed approach for the large-scale D&C procurement to actually construct the major component works. So that concludes my brief overview of the Burney Gateway project and Macquarie 456 redevelopment project.